In this video, we're going to take a break from coding and talk about HTML attributes. And we've been looking at those in previous videos, but I'm going to explain more about those in this video. Now, before we do that, let's do a little bit of a rehash on elements and tags. Now, as we know, elements are made up of two tags, an opening tag and a closing tag. And what do these elements do? They tell the browser something about the information that is between these two tags. So the paragraph element will tell the browser that there's some text here. The heading element will tell the browser that there's a heading here. And the body will tell the browser that everything that's inside the body will make up the actual web page. So at a basic level, that's what elements do. And now you might ask the question, well, what's the difference between tags and elements? And the answer to that is not a lot. They're almost one and the same. In fact, you'll hear a lot of people refer to this as an element. You'll hear some people refer to it as a tag. Some people refer to it as element tags. Other people will call it tag elements. So they are very, very close, and they essentially do the same thing. Now, if you wanted to get really specific, you would say that these angle brackets here are an element, and until we put this P in here, that tells it what type of element it is. It's tagged as a paragraph element. Now, what are attributes? Well, we've been looking at those. This right here is a class attribute. And all an attribute really does is it gives more information about a particular element. It allows you to do a little bit more. And in this case, this is a CSS class, and we're turning this text blue. And so it not only provides extra information, it gives us some more functionality. And the key here is this attribute is specific to this element, this P element, and only that. So if we had another paragraph element down here, it could have a different attribute or no attribute at all. So just keep that in mind. It's specific to the actual element that it's inside. You'll also notice that it always goes in the opening tag. You never put it in the closing tag. So attributes are always in the opening tag inside these angle brackets. Now, attributes always have three items. First, we need to put the attribute name here, and these are standardized, of course. Then we need to use the equal sign, and then we assign it a value. The equal sign, of course, assigns it a value. So those are the three parts to almost every attribute. And now you'll remember in previous videos, with the label element, we use the for attribute. And the reason I put this example here is that some attributes only go with a particular element. So for instance, the for attribute is only available for the label element. You wouldn't put that in a paragraph element. Whereas the class attribute, you can put in almost every type of element there is. So just be aware that in some attributes you can put in almost every element, and other attributes are very specific to a specific type of element. Now, attributes are going to become more important when we get to the CSS tutorials and JavaScript tutorials, ASP tutorials, those kind of subjects. But I just wanted you to understand how they work in HTML before we get to those series. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. Element. Now, the meta elements are always put inside the head element. So they will always go inside the head element. And the reason is because meta elements are not visible to your web user. And as you can see over here on the web page, none of the meta elements appear. They will not appear on your web page, and so the user will not see them. They are merely to tell search engines about your web page. And so you can provide all of this information to the search engines using meta elements. Now, we create a meta element using the meta tag. You can see that right here. And you'll notice we don't have a closing meta tag. You only have an opening meta tag, and then you just have to close it with a typical angle bracket. So again, it does not have a closing tag. Now, meta tags use attributes to provide information to the search engine. And there are different types of values for the name attribute. And it is the type of value that gives each meta element its identity. And so again, the meta elements are differentiated by what value you set the name attribute to. First one we're going to look at is description, and that's probably the most important one. And the two attributes that you use are the name attribute and the content attribute. And in this one, we're going to use the description value to provide a description to a search engine about our web page. So this identifies it as description, and then we put whatever content we want for our description in the content attribute. And I said this is a web page about fish. We cover all the fish in the world. So again, this description is used by search engines to understand what your web page is all about. Now, there's about a maximum of 155 characters, so you should only put a few sentences in here, because sometimes this is actually displayed in the search results. So when you go out and do a search on Google, it'll pull up the website, and then you'll see a description right under it. And I'll show you an example right now. This is PBS's website. I did a Google search for this, and here is their description. So this is being pulled from that meta element description tag. They put all this in a meta element that used the description value. So that's what they put here. You can see it's kind of being cut off. So remember I told you you have about 155 characters. You can see right here it's being cut off. So again, you want to keep that to a few sentences. Now the next one we're going to look at is keywords. Now keywords are words that a web user might search to find a particular page. Most search engines don't use this anymore. For instance, Google has said that they do not use this, so they will not use this to rank your website. However, I usually put it in my website because some foreign search engines still very much use this. So it's not a bad idea to throw a few keywords of what you think people might search for. So again, I just put in fish because this is a fish website. I put an ocean and aquarium. I think I spelled aquarium wrong. And so again, it's just the keywords that you think people put into Google. Now the next one we set to author. Now you'll notice we use a different attribute here. So instead of using name, we just use HTTP-equip, but it pretty much does the same thing. And this is just putting in the author of the website. So again, we set the value to author, and we put in our name here, whoever the author of the website is. And the final one tells the search engine what language your web page is in. Again, we use the HTTP-equiv attribute, and we set this to content-language, that's the value. And then we use en-us to say that this is in English, and again, that tells the search engine what language it's in, and then what country it's from, in this case, the US. I think French would be something like FR actually. So if you want to put these in different languages, you can actually look these up out on Google. Now I will point out one thing. If you do not put in a description in, the browser will do it for you. And it might not describe your website very well. So again, of all the meta elements, I recommend you that at a minimum, you use this one. Okay, that's going to do it for this video. See you guys in the next video.